Welcome back to the Buy My Merch podcast. I'm joined by Love Ghost. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Marilyn, for having me. Appreciate it.
We're here at the Mint. We were just talking about it. I figured I should ask, any last memory of what you were doing last at the Mint?
Yes. In 2021, I saw my friend Triz.
Oh, cool.
He's a really talented artist. We met through Mike Summers. He's a producer that Love Ghost has done a lot of songs with. And he had a show at the Mint where I went to, and that was the night that I met Triz.
That's so cool. Yeah, we've been here all day. It's been so much fun, and we're over. We've migrated spots, and we're hanging out in one of the booths right now. Super excited to be chatting with you. I definitely wanted to open our conversation on the topic of mental health because I was able to look into a lot of your music and heard a lot of the lyrics, very deeply personal stuff, and you also reference mental health as an important part of the Love Ghost project. So I just wanted to ask how it plays into the music that you're creating.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up for me, I was pretty isolated a lot, and I just would use music as a crutch to help me. I would listen to a lot of artists almost religiously. For instance, Kurt Cobain, Smashing Pumpkins, Tupac, whatever it was, and it would really help me help my mental health. And when I kind of started writing music, first I kind of started writing poetry, and then eventually that bled into writing music. And I was just writing about things that I was experiencing, writing about things that I felt because it was helping me in the beginning. Or it still is. And for me, music or creating music is a catharsis. It's a way that I can release those feelings that I don't talk to with other people, or channel those experiences that I've had.
That's awesome. I was just gonna say, if you want to pull this down a little bit, just so that we can see your face in the videos.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And so you would say mental health has really always been part of your musical journey. It's how you've created what you put out there.
Exactly. They're very intertwined. It's whenever I'm upset about something, whenever I'm going through something, I write about it. I write music about it to try to, really just to deal with it. And then even back to when I was really young and I was just listening to music was also more or less a form of therapy for me. So I would, put on my headphones, tune out the world, and I would reflect on my problems. And music was always there for me. It was kind of like the big brother that I never had. So, yeah.
Just before we started filming, we were talking about genre, actually, which I always say when you're an independent artist, or even just when you're getting started, you got to have a lot of fun with genre. Unless you are super solid on what your sound is, let yourself explore, because you were bringing up emo, trap, pop punk, alternative rock. How has that evolution been? Did you start with a certain genre and find that you were just touching on all of these things, or has it just always come from these many avenues?
Yeah, I think it always came from a plethora of different avenues, but I was able to materialize it in a more coherent way as I got older. I'd say that, first of all, I listen to a lot of different genres of music. I listen to... those different sides of my personality are reflected within the music. There's certain songs that are acoustic ballads. There's certain songs that are nu metal. There's trap influence. There's pop punk. There's more avant-garde stuff going on. And really, I just try to keep it as genuine as I possibly can to myself and how I'm feeling and how I'm experiencing the world. And then if that gets reflected in, maybe that day I was really angry and the song is a more metal, more hard song, or that day I was feeling extremely vulnerable and it calls for an acoustic guitar or a piano, then I try to stay true to that.
And how do you connect with a producer where you might be bringing in, I guess, samples from all of those genres? Mm-hmm. Do you find producers ever maybe get turned away from it or thinking I can't help with that? Or how'd you find someone willing to take on that challenge?
Yeah, I've been blessed to work with a lot of really talented, really cool producers, and I think that in the moment, it's always focused on one specific genre or one specific set of influences. So I'd say that the process of working with producers is more simplified in the exact specific song. Like, oh, today we're gonna, and I'll always be, usually in the studio, I'll always be showing different references of songs that I like, oh, hey, listen to this Louisiana jazz horn section, or listen to this Lil Peep song, listen to this Nirvana song, and I just kind of show them like where my head is at, where I'm thinking this song could go, or it would be cool to be inspired from.
And how do you avoid things like burnout as an artist? Especially, you are actively performing
Mm-hmm.
and keeping up with fan bases all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't have a lot of burnout stuff. I have moments where I get super stressed out and I feel overwhelmed, but I think that usually the way that I've always dealt with it is I've kind of just have this voice inside of my head where I'm basically asking myself, is this what you want to do? Do you want to create music for a living? Do you want to inspire other people with your music? Do you want to create art? And the price of that is sometimes being overwhelmed or being burnt out. So basically, I just listen to that voice. It's kind of like, when you're working out and you're really tired, but if you do like whatever, like 10 more push-ups, like it's the difference between finishing your workout or just calling it early. I try to listen to that voice in my head when it comes to music. It's, oh, I'm tired right now, but this I need to push through this. It's just like I just don't really let burnout be an option, essentially.
Do you have to build that same mentality when it's time to market all this music and get on social media or come up with ideas?
Yes, that is, in my opinion, the much more annoying side of it, is the business side of it and creating all the content. Also, usually I'm on a pretty strict regimen schedule of when I'm going to be posting at what time in the day, on what platform, not to post too soon to each other, also to respond to all the comments, which I usually do. So that is the same thing. I kind of just have to, and of course I have days where I mess up and I'm just like, screw it, I don't even want to post today. I'm so tired, and I do listen to that voice sometimes, but really it's kind of the same voice in my head. I just have to kind of keep on coming back to it like it's a mantra. It's just, is this what I want to do, regardless of how annoying some of the external factors are.
It's part of it. It's part of the culture of having an idea, is getting others to know about that idea. Well, I would love to talk a little bit about your fan base, and I got to do a fun deep dive on your Spotify and some of your stuff. And you have it actually shows on there your top 5 cities. I think we're all in Mexico. And I just wanted to ask how you ended up growing such a fun, dedicated fan base in Mexico.
Yeah. So it happened originally naturally. I had a video during the pandemic. The song is called I'll Be Fine. And that song went semi-viral on YouTube. It got 2 million views, and a lot of the comments were in Spanish. Come to Mexico, we love you in Mexico. And I was like, well, I live in Los Angeles. It's a 2.5-3 hour drive from Los Angeles. I should make a song with an artist that's based in Mexico, to try to expand on this growing kind of garden that I've noticed online. So I made a song with an artist named Edan Cruz. It's called Noviembre, which is just November in Spanish. And we released that song. I ended up going down to Mexico City for a month. I was playing shows with him, and that's kind of really what sort of convinced me that I need to focus on, not that I should disregard America, but just that for whatever reason at that point in time, Mexico clicked for me. I just remember like the feeling of when I had walked onto the stage and hearing the sound of that crowd. I was like, wow, this has never happened to me before in America. For whatever reason, the way that I'm singing or the way that I'm describing my experience in the world is connecting with a bunch of teenagers in Latin America.
It's so cool.
Yeah, so basically I spend half my time in Mexico. I go back and forth between Mexico and America. I'm learning Spanish. I'm not fluent yet, but I'm close to being fluent.
Muy bien.
Sí, gracias. But yeah, basically, and that's also just I've read so many stories about artists that are having a hard time starting a fan base, and then they go to Russia and they have amazing success in Russia. Or even the Beatles, they got their startup in Germany, in Hamburg. And I just think that if you think about music and entertainment on a global scale, there's such a wide range of people and opportunities that are out there that sometimes maybe as Americans or people living in Los Angeles we don't always think of.
That's a crazy story. I feel like it's popping off a lot of questions in my head about it. I do want to circle back to that YouTube video. Tell me again what the actual YouTube video was. It was a music video?
It was a music video. The song, yeah, it's about depression. It's called I'll Be Fine. I literally just recorded it on one of those handheld Sony cameras in Pasadena. It was right as soon as the pandemic hit. I'm just walking around by myself in like these empty streets and playing acoustic guitar. I would call that song, it was basically all that's really on that song is just an acoustic guitar and trap beats. So it's like acoustic emo trap. That's what I would call the the genre. But yeah, basically that song for whatever reason kind of struck a chord on YouTube, and I remember the day that it came out. I was like really excited. I was like, oh wow, this might hit 1,000 views in the first day, and then the next day I checked it and it was at 7,000, and I was like, whoa, that's very unusual for me. And then pretty much by the end of the week it was at 50,000, and then by the end of the month it was at 1 million. So it was just
Did you trace it back? Do we know if it was featured somewhere? Did you have, or even in the back end analytics, did you find anything to indicate what happened?
Kids in Mexico and Latin America at large, also like Brazil and Chile and Argentina, were reposting a lot of it on like different like lyric video, like, you know, those like YouTube accounts where it just shows like different songs but in like with Spanish subtitles, like sad rock, sad trap, and it was just stuff like that. And also it was also like back when I was also pretty active in the SoundCloud community as well. And that it also helped. But yeah, it so much of it I feel like it's just timing and seizing the moment.
You didn't actually pay for these placements or anything that happened with that. You filmed in Pasadena, posted it. Yeah. That's a really cool story. Now when this happened to you, were you an independent artist?
Yeah, I was fully independent. I was 19. I just I wasn't really working with anyone at the time, and yeah.
That's so cool. Well, shout out to your fans in Mexico that I'm sure will watch this. I wanted to ask, you have since done some really cool collaborations, both English and Spanish, but I wanted to ask how you typically connect with collaborators. Yeah,
it's a mix of things. Sometimes it's just as simple as meeting these people at clubs, at music venues, at parties. I go to a lot of, like, which is kind of hard for me because I'm pretty antisocial, but I go to a lot of just events, like music events. And then also I connect with a lot of people on social media, primarily Instagram. So I'm just like DMing, like if I'm listening to an artist on Spotify and I'm like, oh wow, this person's really cool, this person's dope, I'll usually DM them just to see if they respond. But yeah,
you did a really fun collab with Andiegago, and I wanted to ask, after you do the actual music part of it, how do you both come up with marketing? Because you both had clever ways to talk about the collab on your social media channels.
Well, thank you. Honestly, I've never really been super good at marketing. Also, I do have a manager in Mexico, Ty, who helps me with marketing. But basically, I kind of just try to keep it as genuine to what the song is as possible. I mean, the song is basically kind of like a sad summertime love song, which I think is me and Andy could both relate to that concept. And I think a lot of people can relate to that concept. So I really just try to shoot little videos and pieces of content that were based around that, or even maybe more specifically would be based on some of the individual lyrics. Like, for instance, I said it's like driving a car that has no wheels. So there's a really cool junkyard in Sunland Valley where you just pay $7 and they pretty much just let you do whatever you want.
That's in the LA area?
Yeah, it's in Sunland.
What?
Yeah. And there's just a bunch of cars that have no wheels. So I would just do these like little Instagram reels and TikToks where I'm just singing the song, walking, and there's like a bunch of broken down cars behind me. And since I'm singing about, oh, this is a car with no wheels, like obviously that's about the relationship and when I said that, but it's I just try to kind of think of like little creative ways that are something new, something different. And then also, which I've kind of been trying to step up more, is just coming up with more higher quality social media content, just because I feel like there's so much opportunity, especially if you're living in Los Angeles, to, even though it's you might have to pay some money and it'll be more time to edit everything, but there's just so much opportunity to make something that's goes from this good to this good, and that 20% jump is everything in keeping someone's attention when people are just so easily distracted these days.
Absolutely, especially with social media and the feed and the scroll.
Exactly.
What would you consider high quality? And I guess, are you comparing it? Are there other artists, or is there something that you're seeing that you're like, that's the 20% jump that I'm trying to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'll see stuff on social media. I'm like, wow, this person really thought about it. This person is getting other people involved in their content creation. But really, for me, I just think it's a thing where it needs to be cohesive with the song. It needs to look like how the song feels. It needs to, and sometimes that's not always a thing that I've been able to articulate, like exactly what I'm trying to say, but it's a feeling thing. It's, oh, this makes sense. I understand this. I understand this this artist. But yeah, I'd say, like, there's all these really cool filmmakers in LA that are super hungry, that will just, they have like mobile setups and you can just spend 6 hours with them and you can do some really cool stuff.
I kind of have like a little bit of a hot take question to ask you. Just listening to you talking about some of this, I'm just wondering what goes through your mind in thinking about this high quality jump, when you did tell me that your most viral moment came from you and like just a little Sony camcorder. So what is happening in your career that is leaning to this jump?
I guess that
is it just honestly the pressure of
I think it's just the pressure. It's just it's also, to me, it's just what makes the most sense for for the song. Because, like, especially since that song was all about depression and isolation, I think having something that felt like almost like a homemade video made the most sense. And I think that some of the music that I'm going to be releasing until the end of this year is just calls for something a bit more extravagant, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so there's more in the works. There's definitely
there's exotic animals, there's airplanes, there's no, I'm just kidding.
I mean, oh my god, I was gonna say you might want to go to Las Vegas for that one.
I'm just kidding.
So why have you decided to make LA your home for your music career right now? Now you're from here, so I think there's that element, but if you had to pull out of that mindset of okay, I am from here, what is it happening here that you think is why you stay?
I mean, well, also I spend so much time in Mexico City too, so it's kind of like I must have two homes right now for building my career. I mean, Los Angeles has a lot of opportunity, and it's also where a lot of people in the music industry live. So just for me, living in Los Angeles, working in Los Angeles, the possibility that I will run into someone that I can work with or someone that's in the industry in some way is pretty high, especially if I'm going to the right places. But I would just say that Los Angeles has a lot of entertainment. It has a lot of opportunity, also a lot of competition. But that would pretty much just be my reason for staying as local as I do, is just the amount of opportunity in the city.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense. So I also wanted to ask about live performance. As of recording this right now, you have a show later this month at the Roxy, right, with Satellite City, who have been on the podcast before. And I just want to ask where live performance, either in LA or Mexico, wherever you are, how does it play into your marketing strategy? As in, are you really holding out on shows until you have something to promote and talk about?
Yeah, for me, playing shows is all about the right opportunity. So, who else is on the bill? Where is it? When was the last time that I played a show? So I usually, it's a difficult thing, because even if you would have, just a few years ago, I would pretty much just say yes to any show that was presented to me. But now at this point, I just want to make sure that I'm presented in the best possible way that I could be at a live performance. So for me, it's less about having something to promote, but having a show that makes sense for my vision and my music.
And how important, besides shows, how important is the live studio experience now? Especially when there's so much of the remote collaborations you can do with producers.
Yeah. Live studio is in you're making, for instance, if you're doing a collaboration and the artist is there with you, or...
Yeah, I kind of worded that weird. I guess what I'm saying is, how important is going into the studio, you have an idea for a song, you want to get it recorded. Are you still valuing going into a studio experience with a producer and anyone else who needs to be there? Or are you team kind of be at home, send him the stems type deal? Him or her?
I usually like to be there creating. I have a home studio. That's what I use. And then I'll invite the producer / engineer, and that's kind of usually how I like to roll. I like to not that I don't I've had really cool experiences sending in the stems and doing it remotely, but I think there's something pretty special about being in the room with a producer, with an artist, or really just anyone. And also I kind of like to do it in a way to just curb my own ego, because I'm not always right. I don't always have the right answers. So if I'm working with people that I think are really smart and that I really trust, then and they'll say, hey, you should probably do it like this instead. You shouldn't sing about that. You should probably do this. Sometimes for me that can be really, really helpful in getting a product that I want.
Yeah. It's finding the right environment that's suiting what it is you're actually recording. So it's not necessarily that you're drawn to needing to be in that environment, but it is a preference when it makes sense. I want to ask you about a week in your life posting on social media. I noticed actually scrolling your Instagram, you experiment a lot. I see lip syncing videos, I see behind the scenes stuff. What is it like putting that content together for your social media right now?
Stressful.
Are you and also are you doing it yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing it myself. It's yeah, it just basically, it's a lot of thinking outside of the box. It's also kind of like a lot of awkward maneuvering, because basically it's like you'll be in the moment, you'll be entrenched in what you're doing, and you're thinking like, wait, this could actually make really cool content if I film right here.
Content brain.
Or if this is, or usually now what I like to do is whenever I have a potential idea for a TikTok, for a reel, for a short, I just do it just wherever I'm at. Sometimes I'll just like literally just walk outside so that I'm in front of the random gas station, and I'll just do it. And I think that I'm, at least the content that I like to absorb a lot on social media is a lot of just artists that I enjoy talking to their fan base, and that kind of human to human connection. So that's kind of what I, even though it's hard for me because I'm shy, but I try to replicate that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you ever, when you talk about leveling things up, it's maybe that you're thinking of budgeting to, would it be like hiring someone with a video camera to batch film some stuff? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah. I actually did that on Saturday. I have a song coming out called Two Sides next week, and I basically just met up with him at his apartment, and I shot like, I don't know, 50 pieces of content so that I'll have it for the next few weeks as this media rollout begins.
What do you do to keep that fresh? Because I think a lot of artists love the idea of the batch film, but the question I get asked a lot is, I'm batch filming now, but how do I make this same type of shot look relevant for 3 months or whatever's coming?
Different outfits and different backgrounds if you can. So that means that you're mobile and you're driving to different places in LA and you're filming different videos in different locations. But yes, that is how you do it. You different outfits, different locations, and yeah, I just say those two: different outfits, different locations.
After having done this now, would you do this again for an upcoming single?
Yeah, definitely. That this is kind of how I like to roll.
I feel like it'd be really cool. I'm assuming, did you do that in LA?
Yes.
It'd kind of be cool if you found someone in Mexico, one of the cities that you're
I
back and forth
have
in.
Mexico
That would
City
also
people.
be really cool. To start platforming almost like two different perspectives in these different places.
Exactly. Like I do this like series in Mexico City where I almost kind of do these semi interviews with people where I grab random people off the street and I talk to them a little bit, and then I show them like my song, I ask them what they think of it, and then it usually ends with me giving them candy. And it's just,
is this an on the street style interview?
It's on the street.
Tiny mic.
So yeah, it's a tiny mic. And I'm just kind of just talking to different people that live there for a little bit, and then What's
been one of the more surprising encounters or something that's happened from doing that?
I've honestly been really lucky. I've always just had cool people that also end up liking the song. I've yet to have someone be like, what's this? This is trash. Like, what the hell? I've yet to have that experience.
So you're playing your song for them.
Yeah, sometimes I'm literally playing it on like guitar too, like in front of them. But I've only had cool experiences with. I guess sometimes people just are like, no, leave me alone. Like I have somewhere to be, which is fine. Honestly, I'd probably do the same thing, but if I had somewhere to go. But
yeah, I do want to ask that you mentioned admittedly you can be a little introverted and shy, even just with your own music, or I should say the promoting of it. I get that question a lot of I want to put myself out there and my music out there, but I'm really hesitant to get behind the camera. What are some of the things that you've worked through to be more comfortable on camera?
There's a really interesting book called The Alter Ego Effect. I hope that that's the correct
It'll be
title.
On screen right now, so.
I would recommend, if you have issues with self-confidence, or really just putting yourself out there, I would recommend reading that book. It's a bit of an acting exercise, but kind of you create a character around your music, and that character is super confident, that character is successful, that character is strong, that character is wise, whatever you want to be. And I think there is something to be said about being able to manifest things in your life through having an alter ego. It's kind of like, there's Clark Kent and there's Superman, there's Bruce Wayne, there's Batman. You're just, there's something to be said in your mindset if you're able to shift your perspective, and instead of asking like, oh, I'm Finn, I'm in this world of trauma and people judging me, it's, oh no, I'm Ghost, I'm someone who's really interesting and who other people are scared of. Then I just that's something that I've learned.
Do you consider Ghost an alter ego persona?
Somewhat. I think it's more so kind of just like a hyperfixation of certain aspects of my personality, but I would say to an extent, yeah, it's a bit of an alter ego.
That's
yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to check that book out. I'm always looking for interesting perspective shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I also would say, for anyone out there, you're never too early in your career to explore that. Or if you think, oh, I have to wait till I'm bigger or I'm in a band or something, start early. Start figuring out what that could look like and start playing into it when you go to the grocery store or when you're chatting with your friends. Just have fun with it. Well, I've got a couple more hot seat style questions for you. I wanted to ask if you could share your most controversial music industry opinion with us.
By
the way, everyone's answered so far on this podcast, so everyone had something.
So I have to. Most controversial.
I love the questions, by the way, that stump the guest. This
it's
is why I always throw
definitely
it in here.
a stumper. I don't know how controversial this is or not, but I would say have pride in your mistakes. A lot of really cool, sometimes like the best music that you can create is because you're unfamiliar with with audio engineering and you're recording it wrong, and then it ends up sounding even cooler, like in a distorted, fucked up way. Or you're posting content that doesn't make sense and you don't see your friends doing, or maybe you're moving to a different country and learning a new language, because I would just say, like, things that don't make sense to your friends or to your family or whatever are sometimes the best option. I don't know if that's controversial about music, but basically what I'm just trying to say is there is no formula. There is the options are limitless.
It's limitless, and especially in a place like LA where there are a lot of attempted formulas or things that have worked that a lot of labels and such want to formalize. So I think that's good advice. It's kind of like good advice, more so than a controversial opinion. But hey, it's a tough question, and it's stumped almost everybody in the chair today. So, another one here. Do you honestly think you have to be in LA right now to make? When I say make it in the industry, I think there's that angle of like, I perform in my local hometown. I'm more talking about making it on a global scale. Do you think you have to be in LA in some capacity right now?
Absolutely not. I just think that due to the power of the internet, due to the power of social media, your options are limitless. Where you can be at some random barn in the middle of nowhere. As long as you have internet access, you'll still be able to release music. You'll still be able to communicate with your fan base. I think that like the days of having to migrate to Los Angeles in order to have a successful career in entertainment are in the past at this point.
And this is from someone actually born here or like grew up in LA. I think that's important too. My last question is kind of a fun one. It's the idea of, if you could travel back in time, because I heard you bring up Kurt Cobain and some of
Mm.
your past influences. So if you could travel back and, oh my God, I'm tripping over my words. If you could travel back in time to any decade, really any decade at all, and put on a music festival, you're headlining, who's going to co-headline with you? And where are we in time?
I would do something bizarre. I would play on a pirate ship in the Caribbean in the 1700s or something, and I would bring all this technology with me, like all these amplifiers and microphones, so people were just very confused and very did not understand it at all. That's what I would do. And then if I could bring an artist with me, I would bring Rihanna.
Yeah. Would it be a collab? Would a collab be coming from that? That's the promo.
Yeah, that would be the promo. Rihanna and Love Ghost found a time machine and played a concert in the 1700s for a bunch of pirates, and they were flabbergasted.
It's honestly not impossible. So many people do believe time machines, if they don't already exist, they're coming. So
I mean, yeah, Albert Einstein, he even said in his writings that there's this, when you start going faster than the speed of light, there's something there that doesn't mathematically make sense, and in that space is where time travel potentially resides, or time travel would be, is if you can somehow create a machine or create something that goes faster than the speed of light. So.
You heard it here first. And this podcast is me giving you permission to, because everyone's like, if you go back in time, you have to change all these crazy world events. Mm-hmm. If you just throw a concert on a pirate ship with Rihanna, you can also do that.
Exactly.
Well,
that would bring world peace.
Finn Ghost, Love Ghost, all of your awesomeness. Thank you so much for joining me on the Buy My Merch podcast. Mm-hmm. And best of luck at the Roxy and everything coming out soon for you here.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thank you.
Awesome. Woohoo!